This is the one speaker meeting. Please welcome our speaker tonight, Michael.
Hey, my name's Michael. I'm an alcoholic. Man, there's a lot of cute girls here tonight. But see, I won't worry about the cute girls. I'll just be worrying about the girl that I want to text me right now. That's all I'm worried about. The one that's not here. So I got to put it right there, just in case, man. Can I text during the meeting? Is that possible? Mickey, I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding. Just kidding, man. It's fucking crazy like that. I know, exactly. Shit. It's good, man. Life is good. It's definitely been full of surprises today, let me tell you, man. My name's Michael. I'm an alcoholic. Michael. Super. Thanks, Sean, for asking me to come out and share probably one of my, whatever, it's so funny, I'm really grateful. I am so happy to be sober and just kind of be, just if you're new, just so you know, I have no open cases right now, and I have no PO and no tail, and I'm not calling into anybody right now, and I'm not peeing in a cup, and I got a driver's license, I got no warrants. It's fucking unbelievable to be like that for me, because I remember I always had that stuff going on. I never was clean with the system, and just the way it is. I remember I turned 18 and I did an armed robbery right away, and I got caught. It was in Santa Monica. Don't fuck around in Santa Monica. Let me tell you, man. And I'm from LA. I should have known better. I heard the stories, and something went really bad, and I had ran into the Nationwide. I was hiding, obviously, and I was hiding underneath some furniture in a furniture store on Pico and Lincoln. It's kind of a main spot, There's a lot of people over there, and they saw me run right in. They let me hang out in there for a little bit, and sure enough, when I came out, boy, would you believe they were waiting for me? I was like, wow, shit. My dad was pissed, and nothing. So I'm really happy to be here. I really am. I'm born and raised. I'm born and raised in LA. I lived my first 10 years of life. I lived in Inglewood. I lived on 74th and Crenshaw, which was kind of interesting for a guy like me. But I got to tell you something. It taught me how to interact. I didn't know that those skills were going to be coming into play, 20 years later, because I love to smoke crack in South Central. So why, I have no freaking idea. Why I like to go down to Central and Vernon and get it on. I really like the excitement being down there. It's actually very exciting. It probably still is. I just haven't been down there today. I'm sure it's still happening. I grew up in this kind of weird house where my dad, he actually works at the time he was working for the sheriff's department. So there's, he's in law enforcement. That's his career. And also made it interesting for me. There's 5 kids in that household. I'm an Italian, Irish, Catholic, LA based family where the first 10 years of my life I was living in Inglewood, and 4 boys, 1 girl. I'm not a doctor, but I think my mom was an alcoholic. She probably still is. I remember she used to like to drink a lot of spinata. Now, I don't know if anybody knows what that is, man, but I assume it's some crazy shit, the way she was acting after it. And she used to drink spinata and eat Uno bars, those chocolate bars. That's all I remember. She wasn't that into me, and it's not why I'm an alcoholic. She just she liked the other 4 kids, but you know, I don't even know what happened. I mean, I look like my brothers, so I know they didn't find me. You know, I know that she's actually my mom, but she sure didn't act like it. And there's some seats up front, just so you know. Melissa, come here. She's the one that I was waiting for to text me. I'm sorry. That's right. I'm just up front with the winners, man. The
Nothing wrong with his eyes.
Was our starting time inconvenient for you? I'm just, she wasn't. She's got 2 beautiful children that she has, and she was putting them down. So that's life, man. That's good stuff. I was actually, I lived in Inglewood for 10 years. For the first 10 years. So, armed robbery at 18 and under the furniture, South Central, you know. Yeah! Right, man. Texting, which, crazy like that. Really am, man. I don't know what's happening tonight. I'm not on medication, by the way. Just letting everybody know that for a fact. Now, I have no view on medication. I have a psychiatrist and a psychologist that I see regularly, and they have both fucking begged me to be on medication. They have, man. They just have, and they just, you know what, Michael? You know that thing we talked about last month? Can we talk about it again? And I just say, you know what? Not today, man. The last thing you want is me rolling around LA on medication. You might as well just stick a fucking crack pipe in my mouth and a gun in my waistband, because that's what's going to happen, lady. And I'm going to fucking come back and see you. You know, and you're going to be thinking about, God, that probably wasn't a good idea. So, whatever, man. What are you going to do? So the first 10 years in Inglewood, you know, it was like my mom, I swear to God, she's so not into me, and she's like giving the other 4 kids the love, but she is beating me like, she's beating me within an inch of my life every freaking day. And, you know, she used to put me in that car and take me to the hospital all the time, and she used to tell me the story of how this happened this time and why they're stitching me up or why they're putting my arm in a cast or whatever she had did to me that day. She would tell me, this is the story that you're going to tell them today, and if you don't tell them this story, there's going to be more. Now, I'm like 5, 6, 7, you know, I'm young, so I just figured this is part of the program. I mean, how do I know there's any different way of living at that time? You know, how I knew that nobody else was getting it in the house, which made me feel funny. It made me feel like there was something fucking wrong with me. And it's not why I drank, but it sure did make me not feel good. It didn't make me feel safe. I've never felt safe until I came to Alcoholics Anonymous. I really didn't. I was come to find out through inventory, through that 4th and 5th step, you know, I realized I had to do a lot of steps on education and my history as an adolescent and, you know, my pretty severe behavior problems and where it all came from. And a lot of it had to do with the way I was brought up. I just was brought up kind of interesting. And, you know, I thought for so many years that I actually brought that upon myself, that I was actually doing something wrong and I actually deserved that. And it's come to find out that I was just a little kid doing what little kids do. You know, they're outside and they're getting dirty and then getting in mischief. And, you know, it gave me a real problem with obviously authority. And I have a huge problem with authority and people that are in charge of me to this day. And I have a problem with, you know, love identification, people that are supposed to show you how to love and treat yourself kindly with respect. And I didn't know about that. I learned about it here in Alcoholics Anonymous. I've grown up in Alcoholics Anonymous. Everything that's happened to me in my life has happened here in AA. And you know, and we moved out of Inglewood. It got a little hot down there. And we moved into Hancock Park. And it was actually really cool. I mean, they were ready for everybody but me. Let me tell you something. The first day of K1 kindergarten, the first day of school ever, I was like 5 or 6 years old, and first day of school. You know, I'm kind of excited. I've been hearing about it, and it's a way to get out of the house, I assume, at that time. I was thinking that this could be pretty cool. And, you know, that first day, it was right to the principal's office. And they called my parents and they said, you know, you got to come get them. It's something's happening here. And you know, they said, listen, it's his first day of school, you know. And they said, you know, and they told this lady, this principal at the time, they said, you know what, we deal with first days of school. That's what we do here. We're kindergarten. This is all that we do. They said, this is something different, man. We aren't equipped. This is something that is you know, I mean, it's something very different, and you definitely have to come get them. And phone went down, and I spent that whole day. My parents wouldn't pick me up because mom's busy and dad's at work, you know, providing 5 kids with private school and you know, education and a mortgage. And so they just left me there, you know, and I had to sit. I finished out that day in the principal's in the administrative area. They just sat me on a bench because they didn't know what to do with me. They weren't going to let me back in the classroom. You know, I just go against the program always. And my first addiction was fire. If it lit, man, I was burning it, man. I got to tell you, man. And it got so crazy, and that lasted for many years until 2nd grade. I'm at St. John's, and I've got a good one going, right? And it's good, and this is a real good one. I'm trying to burn the church down, and I remember the you know, the fire people show up with the truck, and the trucks are bigger and the lights, and I'm like, you know, and I'm sitting there, and I'll never forget it. The fireman looked at me, and he goes, "Fuck, man, that kid's at every fire. Every fire. That kid's at every fire." And, you know, because I'm trying to, you know, like, check this one out. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that's great. Well, what's happening? You know, and that was the end of that. And then we had to get the hell out of Inglewood, and we moved up to Hancock Park, and now I live in Hancock Park, and I'm going to St. Brendan's, and we're a St. Brendan's family, and Loyola and Immaculate Heart. Both of my grandparents live within 10 blocks, and I got 5 sets of cousins that live within a mile. So it's like, and then there's Michael Pascal, which is me. And, oh, man. So my mom takes off, right? She just leaves my dad, obviously. And my dad's raising the 5 kids, and he's actually moved from being the sheriff's department general counsel, and now he's kind of working in the courthouse with the in the superior court system. So I'm getting in a lot of trouble, obviously. I just have a huge behavior problem, and this man starts watching us after school, this neighbor, and you know, he was sexually inappropriate with me for a little while, and and I didn't know what was going on. I was like 11 years old, and I knew what was happening wasn't supposed to be happening, but I didn't know what to do. I mean, this lady's been beating me for 10 years, and now I got this going on. So I finally go to my dad, and I tell him what's going on. I said, this is what's happening with this man. And you know what he said, you know, he thought about it for a little while, and then he came to me a week later, and we sat down, and they talked to the guy, and he just said, you know what, he said, this never happened. This never happened. That's it. So there was no, like, you're going to go see somebody and we're going to deal with this. Back then, they just kind of quarantined problems. They just, you know, like, let's just not talk about this. My dad wasn't willing to drag me through his office in Superior Court and deal with that. Because I guess the parents look bad, like, why aren't you watching your kid? You know, and then the whole story happens. And so now I'm 12 and I have, you know, now I got some problems. I have a sex problem. I have a love problem, identification problem, and an authority problem. Like, I'm not doing well. I mean, now the odds of me having a good life are pretty slim, because of, you know, the first 13 years of my life have been very confusing, and I'm scared. I'm scared and I'm afraid, and I'm acting out in some very crazy ways. And I start doing my tour of duty at the juvenile halls, and I'm fighting a lot, and it's really bad. And then then I'm in high school, you know, the last high school that would take me, and been in and out of a lot of different schools. And then I sell this cop a pound of mushrooms, and then I go to court on that, and then come to find out that my dad, at this point, I didn't know it at the time, but he's done. He's actually done. At that time, he's done. I'm like 15, 16. I have hair down on my butt, and like it's feathered, and I'm carrying a brush, and you know, and I got my little motocross bike, and I'm just riding around the neighborhood with my hair and my brush and drugs, and it's freaking crazy is what it is. And I'm growing up in this house where my brothers are older than me, and my sister's older, and they're getting into some very heavy drugs. I can remember being in 9th grade at John Burroughs, and I'm taking acid every day, and I'm carrying a bottle of Kahlua for nutrition. I'd mix it with my milk. I mean, this is, and I'm looking, and this was like a daily thing for me. I'm always have alcohol with me, and I'm always taking mushrooms or acid or peyote, because I think I'm at a Grateful Dead show, but I'm at school. You know, it's freaking crazy is what it is. And because I look at kids now that are that age, and I'm like, I couldn't imagine him on acid with drinking. I mean, he's like a little baby. So, you know, one more time. So the party is so out of control at my house. This is actually, you know, it's so out of control that there's a nice house and a nice house, and then our house, and then a nice house. And the lawn is dead, and cars are on the lawn, and it's like Delta House, House of the Rising Sun. All the furniture is gone because we've now made the living room into a dance area, and there's a place to set up the band on the weekend, and it's freaking crazy. And there's murals all over the place. It's like we're in the Haight-Ashbury, and we're in Hancock Park, and it's crazy. In fact, it's so crazy. And this is crazy. My dad moves out. So my dad moves out, and he moves close by to an apartment. He just surrenders, man. He's gone because he can't do it anymore. And then I'm in and out of the court system, and I'm trafficking drugs for my brothers. It's really out of control. I'm wearing like a tapestry for a weekend, going to shows, and like just kind of gumbing around town, and just taking a lot of drugs and alcohol. And my behavior is very inappropriate, and everybody is totally afraid of me because I'm crazy, and I'm on drugs. I'm super angry, and I got a lot of shit going on, and a lot of stuff that I never dealt with at that time. Obviously, not that they were going to make a case study out of me or anything. And then my dad gave me to the state of California. Which I didn't know that was happening. It was kind of a surprise, and I remember them taking me out of the courtroom where they just You know, they wrestled me to the ground, and they handcuffed me, and then they hogtied me because I'm going crazy, and I'm screaming like a crazy man in the court, and I'm like 16, and they put me into the youth authority system, which, by the way, was a big wake-up call for me. I was like, man, I'm from Hancock Park. We got a little dough, and now I'm in the youth authority system. And I figured it was just going to be for a little bit, but he didn't. He just left me there. He got a little heat from the family, and they took me out, and I promised I'm not going to fucking hurt anybody. I'm going to go with the program. And you know I did for a little while. I know what to do, and I know what not to do. I have that in me. And then my dad sold the house. And he just moved. You know, everybody moves out, and you know, I'm 18, or, you know, something's happening and it's time to go. So I didn't go anywhere. I just stayed there. And the guy that bought the house, you know, he comes in and the house is completely empty except for my room. I got all my shit. Like I haven't touched anything. You know, I got my, I've tapped some electricity from like 2 doors down, and I have the fucking wires running and the extension cords with the knots, and my black lights in effect, and my bongs, and he's like, you know, he's like, you gotta go, and I'm like, what? What are you talking about? I live here. He's explaining to me that he had actually bought the house, which I knew that he did actually, but I was playing like I didn't know that much about it at the time. You know how we could do that, right? Like, really? Oh, God, I didn't know that. Still do it sometimes. So I said, listen, man. He goes, I'm going to call. I said, listen, you stop right there. You're going to call nobody. Because if you do, burning it down. Going down, baby. Going down. Let me tell you about my fucking pyrotechnic deal. And actually, he knew I was telling him the truth. He believed me like you believe me, because he lived right next door for the last 7 years, and he had bared witness to all of it. And, you know, I had 6 cars in the driveway, none that ran. I was going to make them all perfect one day, and I'd sit in them, and we'd get in there and smoke weed and imagine driving them. And then one I actually got running, and it had no transmission in it, but we'd fucking start that thing up, and we had the whole thing and the flywheel, and it was fucking crazy. And we'd rev it up like we're driving and just sit in there and get high. They used to look out the window like, God, what is his fucking problem? So, my problem is you looking at me. Is that what that's what the fucking problem is? Long story short, I had to hit the streets. Dad gave me a little scratch. Gave me like $1,000. I'm thinking, I'm out. For sure, $1,000. I'm moving. So, I hit the streets, and I'll never forget it. My buddy, David Pusey, I'll use his last name. Fuck him. He gave me my first hit of crack, changed my life. The guy's probably selling his ass for a hit right now. He said, listen, we're going to go do this thing downtown. Love downtown, actually. We're going to smoke some crack, and I had never, obviously never smoked crack until that day. I was in handcuffs within 2 hours, man. I got right to it, man. I got to tell you something. I love crack, just so you know, because I could be still stuck on the freeway trying to get to AA, right? But the crack just put me right in the diamond lane and just got me right there. I mean, it just fast-tracked everything, took the brakes off the car, and I just crash-landed into AA, man. Boom. And I smoked the crack for 10 years. I kept that pipe hot, too. Let me tell you, man, I put my work in. That is no freaking, that drug is no freaking joke. If you're a pure alcoholic, I'm sorry. I have a gut feeling. I'm going to go out on a limb that there's a couple drug users here tonight. So, just going out on a limb. What are you going to do? So, stay put if you want to leave, man. Just don't leave. So I got to tell you, the 80s and the crack, there's not, I mean, the ATM thing and the envelopes and, lost one. She'll be back. It's kind of cute. So I'm on the street. So now I'm on the streets for like, now I'm on this, nice. Woo. Yeah. Sorry, man. I better put that. Oh, it's my mom. No, I'm just kidding. How are you doing? I'm like, well, if you didn't beat me so much, I'd be doing better. You know. You know what? I got to tell you something. I forgave that lady. You know, my sponsor said, listen, she might not be a good mom, but you can be a good son. Ain't none of your business what she did to you. I wouldn't change anything. I really wouldn't. I just think it's, I wouldn't change anything. So now I'm on the streets. I really have very little education, but I went to private school, so I'm kind of paying attention to a few things. And I'm not doing so good. And I started my tour of county facilities, and now I'm starting my tour of some state facilities because I'm just doing crime and crack. It's what I like to do. Why? I have no idea, but that's what I like to do. I like to do crime and do crack. Both are equally as exciting to me. And none of the other kids like to do it. They're all in school and kind of just going forward in life, and I just felt really poorly about myself. It's just something that I really got into, and I just know how to destroy myself is really what I know how to do. Come to find out, it's all I know how to do is destroy myself. I don't know how to take care of myself. I've always been in trouble or on the county, and the only way I know how to get through to people is to scare people or put my hands on people or verbally abuse people. You know, when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, I mean, people just kind of stayed away from me. It's not because I was a bad person. It's just I was really scared of my body language, and my whole thing was just like, I'm just here for a minute. It's just, I wish it would work for me. I wish I wasn't so sick, because I'm just too sick. I'm never going to recover. It seemed like everybody's lives were getting better except for mine. I just thought I was too sick to recover, and I thought I didn't deserve love. And those are two things that are probably the most important things I want. I do deserve love, and I'm not too damaged to recover. There's nothing wrong with me. You know, I'm just who I am. I'm not a bad person. I've just made some very interesting choices in life. I really have. And you know what? I wouldn't change anything that's made me an interesting person. It's made me really hold on to the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous and understand that AA's saved my life. It really has. It's taken the most broken toy you've ever seen, walked into any meeting, and it's been repairing my life slowly, because I'm the captain of the Sometimes Slowly team. I mean, I don't know why, but that's just been my journey in Alcoholics Anonymous. I mean, I felt so poorly about myself when I started going to AA. I had followed my sister. I was going to some CA meetings, and they were done with me, and my friend says, listen, your sister's got a year of sobriety, and I'm going to take you over to where she's at. And I'm like, cool. So she was actually in the Pacific group, and they were not ready for me. They really weren't, but I got to tell you something. The Pacific group saved my life. They really, really did. My friend, he pulled up outside of Howard Street, and he said, listen, you're going to park, I'm going to park the car and go in there. And it worried me, because he goes, oh, take your bag, because I had everything in a bag. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I never saw him again. Just went in there, and he was gone. He didn't park the car or anything, and he's still sober, actually. And I walked into this meeting, and I was in really bad shape. And my sister was there, and I remember the look of terror in her eyes when she saw me. And she was really afraid of me, because I was indigent. I was on the streets. There were some people looking for me. And I was just really dirty. I was the dirty, dirty guy that just was physically dirty, mentally. I just had a bag with all my shit in it. And I was on the streets, and I stayed on the streets. I'll never, I have so much compassion for people on the streets. I was on the streets for 10 years, downtown in the Frank Jordan and the Midnight and the Wine Guard, all those places downtown. And I've been to seems like every mission and rehab downtown. I used to go to my dad's office and ask him for money. Sometimes it went well, sometimes it didn't. And I'll never forget this one day. I'd been on the streets, and I went to his office, and he gave me $100, and I'd been up since Thursday, and I crash landed in his office on Monday morning, and at this time I had nothing left, and I was super dirty. I don't know if you know this, but if you smoke the crack and run the streets downtown, you actually get dirty. And I started on Thursday, and Monday morning I remember the night before I gave up the shoes, man. I had the New Balance Worthy shoes back in the 80s, and I had just got them, and this guy was kind of slugging me for them, like, hey, take the shoes, and so Sunday night I gave up the shoes. And then I walked in my dad's office with a pair of socks, and I had put in about 13 hours in the socks downtown, which is really weird. And I walked in his office, and I'm super dirty with just socks on. He gives me $100, and I go downtown. I score $95 worth of dope, and I get a pair of slippers. And I throw it all in my mouth, and now I'm walking across the street to go into the no-tell motel to get it on. I like to get freaky when I smoke crack. So, not that freaky, but you know what I mean. How much can you do? Fuck. The fucking inverted weenie, So, nothing's happening, but you never know, I love to party. By the way, I smoke crack naked with a towel. It's just the way I do it, and I run around. Why I like to do that, I don't know, but I'm into it, actually. So I put the $95 worth of crack in my mouth, and I run across the street to the motel, and I'm ready to go inside, and I'm going to lock it down somewhere. I don't know where. There's cops standing out front of the hotel, and I'm like, and he goes, come here. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. I've been waiting 5 days for this score. I got the slippers. I got the dope in my mouth. I'm ready to go. He said, come here. And I walk up to him. And, of course, I have to swallow the dope because I'm not going down. And he looked at me and goes, don't jaywalk. And he walks away. You gotta be fucking kidding me. So I run right back to my dad's office. It's been like 10 minutes, and he's still in the meeting. And I open the door, and he's like, he looks up, and I'll never forget the look on this man's eye. And he's like, oh my God. So he storms out of his office, and he storms into the conference room of where we're at. And he slams the door, and he's actually pissed now. But he's smiling, which worried me. And he goes, that's it. He took his wad out, and he goes, here it is. Here's all of it. He goes, but that's it. You're a career criminal. You've jeopardized everything I've worked for. You've dragged my name through the mud. You're on the streets. They're looking for you because they're calling me looking for you. And we're done. I never want to see you again. There's going to be a restraining order out against you in 15 minutes. I'll sign it myself. I hope I never want to see you again. And fast forward, I can't tell you what happened between then and when he retired 7 years ago, when I'm sober like 5 or 6 years. And, I'm like I'm his favorite out of the 5 kids. He fucking loves me. He's so proud of my accomplishments in Alcoholics Anonymous. I walk into this banquet room at the Biltmore Hotel where he's having a sit-down dinner for the retirement. There's 400 people there. It's packed. And everybody there knows about me. But everybody also knows that I went to Alcoholics Anonymous and something's happened. And there's a couple judges that had come up to me that wanted to talk to me about what's going on with me, that the last time they saw me, I was in some weird colored jumpsuit, and they're covering the microphone going, isn't that David's kid? And they saw that, my life has changed, that there's something so powerful that's happened to me to take me off the streets. And at the end of that night, a lot of people came up to a podium like this and talked about my dad, because he's really a great guy. And he said, Michael, I want you to get up. After everybody's done, he goes, I want you to get up and talk to these people on behalf of the family. You know, and why he chose me that day, I have no idea, but I had no idea what was happening, because the fog was just being lifted. And I remember getting up to that podium, and you could hear a pin drop, and everybody was listening, because they knew what kind of lifestyle I'd had up until that point. And it's just like I was just standing there with Alcoholics Anonymous and my family there, and I talked about what my dad represented to me. You know, he never wanted to give up on me. He was just afraid I was going to kill somebody. And he just got really afraid of me for good reason. And he's a good man. He's really in my life today, and he's really proud of me. It's just that was just another moment that I could have missed in my life if I didn't come here and get sober. You know, I've had a pretty tough life. You know, I've been shot and I was left for dead. I was kidnapped and taken to a horrible place and almost died. And it's just like, you know, how does somebody like me put his life together? You know, AA is so powerful. It's the most powerful thing that's happened in the 21st century. You know, it really is. It's changed more lives than anything else. And AA has restored me to sanity and gave me a God and given me a sponsor and given me a life. And I really feel good. You know, this current sobriety, because I was in and out, I'm a chronic slipper. You know, I'd have to go to the meeting, and I would go to the bathroom at the mobile station. I would come back because I didn't think I was allowed to use the bathroom at AA. I had no idea that I was actually able to use the bathroom. That's how poorly I felt about myself. When I finally got a year, I've been working so hard at getting a year. I went to the thing, and I sat in the front row. I'll never forget it. And I felt so poorly I was humiliated because my life still wasn't too good, and I couldn't even put my name down to take a 1-year cake and celebrate my life. I had to wait till I had 2 years. You know, when I had a couple weeks this time, I was in such bad shape, and an old timer came up to me, and I wasn't walking too well, and he said, "What's wrong?" I said, "You know, my feet are in really bad shape, and I'm really sick. I was dirty, and I was on the streets." You know what I just said? I got 1 day, and I'm on the streets. He goes, "I want you to go see my doctor." I said, "I don't have any money." He goes, "Just go see him, Michael." And I went to the doctor, and then he had to send me to some foot doctor right away. And I remember that they took off my shoes and socks that day, and I'll never forget the look on this doctor's face. He goes, where have you been?" You know, my feet were so infected I could barely walk. He goes, "You know, we have to operate on these right away. We have to. We have no choice." You know, and that ended up happening. And but this time I told the doctor, you know, I'm sober almost 2 weeks in AA, and I'm fucking trying. Because I finally felt like my life was worth saving. And I've never felt that way. It's so hard to explain what AA has given me. And I felt brand new until I took my 9th year cake. I remember taking my 9th year cake, and I sat down and I just kind of relaxed for the first time. I felt like I finally put together some time, because I've been a chronic relapser for so long, and I came in so damaged and so dirty. I just felt like raising my hand as a newcomer for 9 years. It's just the way I felt. It was my journey, which is not good news if you're new. But, you know what I'm extra sick. So I go to extra meetings. That's what I just want you to know. And if you're new in this room, I mean, AA has slowly repaired my life. And I deserve love. And I'm not too damaged to recover. I'm just not. And I'm really grateful for my life. I really am. I feel At 12 and a half years, I'm just scratching the surface of something very deep and very real. And I am so happy that I have the presence of mind to actually be present to see what's really going on in my life, because I never knew what was really happening. And I am present today for my life, and it feels good. It really does, and I feel safe here in Alcoholics Anonymous. I hang out with people that want the same things for me as I do, and that's my benchmark for my friends. I hang out with the people that want the same things for me as I do. They just want me to have a good life, and they don't want anything from me. AA has overpaid me in every area, and if you're new, just buckle up, man. It's all good here. This is a safe place to bring it. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right.